second off week will be a little bit different than the first off week of going back. The routine will be about the same. Mentality will be a little bit different. We'll focus on recruiting this week. We had 4 coaches out yesterday. We'll have all of our coaches out on Friday and Saturday. We'll be in a variety of states like we were last time, trying to get some guys that want to be Mountaineers. But then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we will get out there and kind of get back to the basics a little bit. Last off week we put the ball down and played it a lot because we were so early in the season. We felt like we needed to keep playing ball. At this point, I think it's more important to get out there and focus more on the fundamentals of the game of football. When you play so many young kids like we are, the first thing that's going to go in the heat of battle is technique, and there's examples of all that all across the board. So we will focus a lot on fundamentals and just basic football, from offensively, just the tempo that we play at, to our base plays, to blocking, finishing blocks, keeping the timing from a throwing the ball standpoint. Defensively, just your proper alignment, your proper technique and backpedaling and breaking on the ball, and run fits and getting off blocks and making tackles. So we'll focus a lot on that, and then we'll put the ball down a little bit and play at the end of practice with a lot of our younger guys to continue to develop those guys as football players. So other than that, good week for these guys. Midterms are in. Good week for these guys to understand where they're at from an academic standpoint. I'm pleased with where we are from an academic standpoint, and we'll continue to hold these guys accountable for making sure they know what they're doing in the classroom, but also becoming better football players. And then hopefully they get away from it for a couple of days and they come back energized and regrouped, and we will have a great Sunday in preparation for TCU. So, take some questions.
You talk about getting back to the fundamentals. I mean, does this week sort of mirror a camp mentality type of thing, or is it different than that since you are halfway through the season at this point?
It will. More like a spring practice, more like a camp. We're not going to focus too much on TCU right now. TCU is not focused on us, I can assure you of that. They got a game this weekend. But there's some specific things that they do that we can mirror, and that we will do some of that in practice. But it really is more, it's a mentality. I mean, we got to do a better job of offensively playing our game, which we didn't do a very good job of that last week. Defensively, we got to continue just to get better at everything that we do. I understand the situation we're in, and from just a basic alignment and fundamental aspect of the technique that we're trying to get them to play with, that's what needs to improve. And then hopefully we can get healed up and re-energized and ready to go for the remaining 5 weeks, which will be a grind. It'll be much like it has been here for the previous 5 weeks.
Talk about recruiting. You're going to concentrate heavily on junior colleges. Is that the plan?
Well, yeah, we have been. We will. We're going to get out, and we'll be in Arizona. We'll be in Kansas. We'll be in Texas. We'll be hitting. We'll be in Mississippi. We'll hit all those, and they'll be hit this week. This Friday, Saturday, we'll be out seeing a bunch of games and evaluating a lot of guys. So yeah, to answer your question.
To get back to what you guys are doing offensively, what has there been a common theme the last 2 games for you guys for what you haven't been doing?
I don't think we've played with great tempo. I think that's when we play best, is when we play with tempo. There's specific things that we do offensively that you can, and there's specific things that we do offensively that we can't do from a tempo standpoint. There's things that you need to have them settled and make sure that you're in the right calls. A good balance is when we're at our best. Probably a little bit too settled last week, which was 100% my fault. We should have pushed the envelope on some things.
When you mentioned that you guys need to be a more mature team, I know you said that yesterday. Can you, I guess, explain that a little bit better? What you mean by that?
Well, aside from the fact we'd like our 20 freshmen to be seniors, we can't use, and that's not an excuse. We need to, we just need to, from a mentality standpoint, just grow up. We can't use the excuse of inexperience. We can't use the excuse of not having enough snaps. That nobody wants to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So we got to grow up. We got to play older than we are. We need the older guys to act older. We need the older guys to help bring along the younger kids. The guys that have played a lot of football around here need to help get the younger guys in better position and line up quicker and line up faster and properly and know what their assignment is and be tough when adversity hits. We played a team that's got that mastered. They are the most mature football team in the country. They're very old, and they've played a lot of football, and they're mentally tough, and they don't lose sight of their technique in the heat of the battle. So we can learn a lot from playing a team like that. Got a lot of respect for how they run their program. Said it last week, and they lived up to everything that we thought they were.
When you guys make a commitment to playing younger players, how much is it on them to step up into those roles? And do you go back and forth between the veteran players? I mean, once you've subbed out a veteran and you're playing a freshman, is that job his until he loses it?
No, it's based on what have you done lately. You make the decision to play who you think's the better player, and is the ceiling higher for a younger kid than it is an older kid? Usually is. It doesn't mean it always is. You take a guy like JD who hadn't played a whole lot, hadn't made a whole lot of plays, but played good in camp. He got a lot better. It has faded a little bit recently, which that's something that's what I mean by a mature football team. You got an older guy like him that has some experience, not a ton. He's gotten a lot better, but he needs to act a little bit older in a situation like the other night. But you make the decision to play who you think's the best guy, and then it's all about performance. If the guy's performing, then you keep him in there. If he's not performing, you look for other people to put in there. The biggest motivation in college football is playing time. But you don't want to sit a guy down that you don't think has a guy behind him that's not better than him. That's when you run into the problems of, you want to play the better player, and you want to use motivation of playing time if you can. Our depth is preventing us from being able to do that in specific spots.
Generally speaking, in football, because of the rules about safety, where you can't wear pads so many days, and there's less contact in practice, et cetera. Also, the spread offenses, has that taken, and the emphasis on speed, has that taken some of the toughness out of the game? Generally speaking,
It can a little bit. We don't like to think so. I mean, we talk about, about being physical. We talk about effort. We talk about playing hard. We talk about all that stuff all the time, and it doesn't matter if it's, if it's a spread team. There's one-on-one matchups everywhere. I mean, you got to be physical if you want to win. Or if you bring everybody together and it's just a big wadded up thing where they're still leaning on each other or anything. So is it a little less physical than it's been? Probably, because there's a lot more space in between the contact. But we don't view it like that. I mean, those one-on-one matchups can be pretty violent.
Dana, last year you guys hit maybe like a similar ride, right? About the, Louisville game, you kind of did the introspection thing. Is this similar at all last year?
Nah, it's a little bit different. That was, anytime you put two losses back to back like that, it's probably a little different. So there was some challenges last year that don't exist with this team. There was some challenges this year that didn't exist with that team last year. I mean, basically it boils down to, having to bounce back, and that doesn't just happen overnight. I mean, we bounced back last year. I mean, we were in a situation. This is different because of who we're playing. I think that's number one. I mean, we're playing some pretty good teams. I mean, that just played the number 3 team in the country that hasn't lost. I mean, they're a pretty good team. So, you know, it's going to take a whole year of going through the Big 12 and I think for everybody to kind of understand what the Big 12 is all about.
But from a sense of, and this kind of maybe backtracks a couple minutes, but finding out what you can do as far as like tempo or going back to fundamental stuff. I seem to remember last year, maybe like different play calls to get more manageable third down, just looking at what you could do. I even think tempo was something last year. Just X and O personnel stuff too, just pare it down a little bit or just find what you're actually really good at and just focus on those things.
You got to do that.
Okay.
Anytime anytime you get beat, that's what you better do. If you try to manufacture plays or manufacture people or come up with tricks or any of that, that's not the solution. So what we've been talking in there for the last 3 days, Sunday, Monday, and today is what can we do on all 3 sides of the ball that we're good at. That's what we need to do. And so we've probably narrowed down some things, and we're gonna focus on just getting better at some stuff that we're already pretty good at, and try to build some confidence because of that, and then regroup and get energized and attack the next game as hard as we can starting Sunday.
They're obviously.
Dana, with that in mind, you've said a couple of times over the last few weeks that there's nothing wrong with your schemes, and I'm talking specifically defensively, but after what's happened the first 7 weeks of the season to your defense, do you now look not necessarily at changing the schemes, but trying to do something within those schemes to cover up some of the areas that are obviously deficient?
Yeah, we've tried that. I mean, there's within our defensive scheme, there's different coverages, there's different blitzes, there's different fronts. I mean, you know, we get in one, it doesn't work, we go to another one. It's a multiple defense. We can line up a variety of ways. You know, so when you know they hit us on a cover 2 seam route, we went to cover 3, and then they started hitting us on some out routes. So we went to a press and bail cover 4. You know, so I mean, we mix things up, and ultimately comes down to you just executing it based on technique and executing it based on making plays. I mean, you guys saw a couple of times where the ball was in the air and we had people right there. Well, who made the play? They did. I mean, how could we get our guys in any better position than that? So we're constantly trying to tweak it to where we get guys in better position. You know, if as an offensive play caller, I go back to this. And I tell our team this all the time. If you guys are going to rely on us as coaches to make the perfect call every single time, then we're going to fail you. That nobody can do that. Nobody can make the perfect call all the time. So we can put you in position the best that we possibly can, and we need to do a better job. Offensively, we need to do a better job of getting in the right plays. Defensively, we need to do a better job of getting in the right plays. And then we're putting you in position to be successful where now you got to take over. And as coaches, we have something to do with that too. From a mentality and a mindset of being able to make that play based on the technique that we're teaching them and the situations that we're putting them in, we got to do our best, and then they have to make the play. And that's offensively, it's defensively, it's special teams. And we got to do a better job of that as coaches. And we have to do a better job as players as well.
Should we take that to mean that you feel that they have been put in the positions to make plays on that side of the ball, at least in large part?
I'm not saying all the time, no. I mean, and that's where we got to do a better job as coaches, of putting them in better position to be successful. It's a combination of both, you know, and you know, it's where nobody's pointing fingers anywhere. I'm not pointing fingers at any particular place. Nobody's doing that. We all understand that we have to continue to, as coaches, put them in position to be successful, teach them how their technique is, teach them how they make the plays, build confidence in them where they can do it, and then get out there and work hard on it. I mean, ultimately it comes down to getting them out there at practice and working hard in practice and getting better at what we're asking them to do. There's only a certain amount of coverages that we can run. There's only a certain amount of run plays that we can run. You know, you can't, if you try to do a whole bunch more, if you try to make up for our inefficiencies with more plays, it confuses them more and they can't get good at anything.
Dan, you said nobody's pointing fingers, and one of the things that Gino said continually after the game was that he's pointing the finger at himself. He's facing his first real adversity individually of the season. How have you seen him respond? How do you expect him to, going forward for the next 2 weeks and into the rest of the season?
Me and him have talked, and he doesn't need to say that because he's one of many positions that play football here. So if he thinks that all this falls on his shoulders, he's sadly mistaken. And he's one of our leaders. He's a tremendous football player. He cares more than anybody. He's made a ton of plays. He's responsible for a lot of points and a lot of wins. But this doesn't fall on his shoulders. I mean, this falls on my shoulders, and it falls on all of our coaches, and it falls on all of our players. He's only one piece to everything, and for him to be at his best, he needs to understand that the only thing that he can do is worry about taking the snap and going where we want him to go with the ball. And if that's all he worries about, he's going to be more productive and he's going to be better. So he needs to relax a little bit and not bear that burden. That's not his job. So we're going to get him back on track from the standpoint of just worrying about what he needs to control.
And possibly related, the vertical pass for you guys just hasn't been there the past couple of games. I can think of one maybe, Texas Tech, since maybe the Texas game. How is that going to be, and how do you get that back?
We got to protect.
Yeah.
We got to protect. Texas, different challenges. Texas Tech, Texas, we know who those guys were.
Yeah.
They were pretty good coming off the edge. So we were conscious of that and didn't do it very much and was successful in what we were doing. Texas Tech was more press, where we didn't handle the press very well at receiver. And then Gino was not accurate downfield. We went downfield probably 6 or 8 times.
Right.
We weren't successful, which is the main reason why they were successful. And then this past game, again, the pass rush was pretty good. Those guys were rotating a lot of D linemen, and they were really athletic. It wasn't a specific guy we were scared of. There was just a collection of them. But they did a good job of getting to us. And then their coverage was off. Their corner coverage was off. We should have done a better job of completing the ball underneath more than we did. They did a good job of mixing up their leverage. So it's a combination of a lot of things. It's not the plays that we're calling, because we called plays that would have got the ball downfield some, but whether we broke down up front or he got his eyes away from it, we didn't do a good job of getting it down the field.
Danny, you mentioned mental problems defensively. What about physical? Because you're so young, are you just not big enough, strong enough, fast enough for some of the guys that are trying to play?
There's something to that. Nobody wants to hear this, but we're doing a decent job against the run. And they average 3.7 yards a rush. So we're not just getting gashed on the run. So we're playing pretty physical up front. Shaq's a physical guy, and George Wright's holding his gap, and Kyle Rose played better, and Josh is doing okay, and Terrence from squeezing things in, and Isaiah Bruce and Jared Barber played better against the run last week. Those bodies aren't doing a great job with the pass rush. So we got those bodies in there that are doing a pretty good job against the run, being physical. But those guys got to do a better job of rushing when they have opportunities to rush. We're not getting any pressure on the quarterback. So he can sit back there, and the receivers can run double and triple moves on people, and he just throws it as far as he can and hit every one of them. But from the physical standpoint, for some of the kids in the secondary not being physical because they're young, yeah, that probably exists.
Let me give you a soapbox. Did you feel that you were overrated coming into the season, and partially just off that Clemson game? Because if you really think about last year, or even your conference play over the last 9 games, you've won all of them. The ones you've won have just been 7 or less points, and you haven't done what you did in the Clemson game.
Right.
And did that hurt you being overrated, do you think?
I don't know. Everybody's got an opinion of preseason rankings. Preseason rankings are based on how you ended the year and how many guys you got coming back. But how much difference this team than last year's team, that exists every year. So it doesn't matter what happened last year. I sat up here before the Marshall game and said that. You know, this is a different team. We're going to find out its makeup through games. It's going to take games to find out what we're made of. So, you know, we tell our team, don't worry about what the outside says, what the papers say, what the rankings say, what the internet says, the TV. I mean, our job is to get the guys to focus on not paying attention to what everybody's saying. And this week we're telling them, don't pay attention to what everybody's saying, because all the people that said you were so good are telling you you're so bad. So why pay attention to either one of them? Just worry about what we say in here. Get in and worry about yourself and get individually better. You know, worry about your academics and do a good job. Worry about, you know, your health and taking care of your bodies and getting in the weight room and getting bigger and stronger and getting treatment. And that, I mean, those are the stuff you need to be worried about. And then when you got time to go out and practice, don't go out there and go through the motions. Go out there for a reason to get better. That's what these guys need to be focused on. If they're focused on anything else other than that, they're not thinking about the right stuff. So me thinking if we're rated high is a good thing, or rated low is a bad thing, doesn't matter. I mean, it's good exposure if you are, but you know, I knew all these games were going to be pretty challenging too.
Dana, TCU's played, I think, the most freshmen in the country, and you're rapidly catching up. They've been doing it most of the year. You're kind of mixing them in midstream right now. What's the difference from week 1 versus week 7 with going young guys in?
Being ready to play. We make those decisions based on practice. And we talked in here a lot in camp about our freshman receivers, you know, who's going to be able to play. And we knew there was some promise there that from a talent standpoint, Jordan and Devontae and Travaris were going to be able to help us. But you don't want to put them out there if guys like KJ Myers or Dante Campbell or Ryan Nealand are better. And at the first, you know, when we made the decision, we just felt like those guys were a little bit better. And as we kept practicing and kept practicing and kept practicing, we saw the younger guys get better, and we saw those other guys stay the same. So it comes back to playing time being the main motivator for a kid. And if it is, then they will continue to get better. If it's not, then they won't.
Speaking of getting treatment, is there something more than a thigh bruise with Sean? And is there consideration of redshirting him if he would like to come back?
No, he's going to graduate. I think he's here. This is his 5th year here too. I mean,
It might be.
did he
No,
redshirt
it's
or not?
fourth.
I don't even know the answer to that, to be honest with you. But no, we haven't talked about that because he can play. The most important, I say he can play. I mean, we're going to see if he can practice. I mean, he's not. We're not going to just dress him out and say, I hope he can play. He's going to have to practice a couple of days before we can put him out there to do that. But you know, it's always been, we're hoping to get him to practice so we can play him in the game. It's been that way for a month. So this week we're going to practice him. We're going to try to incorporate him. Next week we'll practice him, and if it looks good, we'll play him. If he gets out there and he's hobbling around and doesn't look very good, then we won't play him. So I haven't even thought about the red shirt thing, because the most important game is the next game that we play. And if he can play and he can help us win, then we're going to play him. He ain't no different than anybody else.
Have you seen an injury like that kind of take this
No,
long?
it's a bruise that kind of got into the bone a little bit, which means it's a bad bruise. But that, you know, so it's treatable. He's getting treatment. All right, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.